Hello, thank you for tuning in today. Today I'm going to show you how we're going to AutoDip a pair of Jeep rims. The first step you want to do is you want to make sure it's very clean. Clean also the edges close to the tire. Once it's very clean, then you're going to grab a microfiber towel and wipe it clean again with alcohol so the paint bonds great. Once it's dry and right before you're getting ready to do the first layer, I recommend to dust it off any dust particles that might fall on the rim. And of course, instead of masking the tires, we like to apply a heavy coating of tire dressing. That way the paint won't bond to the tire and it'll be easy to remove it from there. So that's sort of like the masking that we've done to the rim. Okay, we're gonna start. Now the first layer, you want to make it a very thin layer because all those little dots that are going to bond into the rim will bond a lot harder if they're very separated rather than having a heavy coating. So start with very light layers. You're going to spray about, depending on the condition and the air, if you're doing outdoors or indoors, you want to do between 5 and 10 inches. Okay, so we're going to start and we're going to spray it parallel to the rim. Here we have a slight angle, so we're going to apply it like so. And that's it. You don't want to overdo it. There we go. You see? That's how you want the first coating to be. You don't want to accumulate a lot of painting anywhere. I'm gonna do the next rim, same strokes, parallel to the rim. And you don't really need to wait 15 minutes when you're spraying this light. Obviously it always depends on the weather that you're spraying. Right now we're at about 75 degrees in sunny California. So we don't really have to wait the 15 minutes. We're just gonna wait about 5 minutes probably. We remember to shake well your paint. And not only that, I highly recommend, for best results, leave it someplace warm, even in direct sunlight, so it heats up the can and the pressure is higher and the product is more diluted, so you get a very fine mist and a very good pressure. So that's just a tip that I recommend personally. Remember, always mix, because that will prevent dots, bulgy dots, falling onto your rims. And you're gonna see that I'm gonna do different techniques as I paint, depending on the shape of your rim also. So we'll see. Okay, so we're ready for layer 1.5 per se. Okay, and that could be counted as your first layer. So it's a very light one, very thin to have those dots, so it grips better the paint. At the end we're gonna do a thicker layer, but for now you want to do a very light layer to basically what this will do is it will prolong the life of your paint. Now we're gonna do the third layer, and on this layer I'm gonna try to get angles that I see that are getting a little less paint, like the walls of the rims. Remember, we're spraying straight, so we want to get some angles to be able to get that edge nicely. Also the walls. And a top angle. And it's again very light there. That's it, never overkill it, be patient and go to the next round. This is the result you want on the third layer. So now we are going to let it dry for 15 minutes at this point because we do want it to bond nicely. This will be very hard to remove it. If you, for example, oversprayed it, you would need to clay it or use some solvent to remove that paint. So at this point, the paint will bond amazing. So be patient, be very patient on the first layer especially. Here's the other rim, just so you take a look at it. And we're gonna show them installed so you see how it looks at the end. We left this on the sun for 15 minutes so it's nice and warm. And we're ready to do the next one. Now you see how I'm overlapping each layer? That's really important. You want to overlap the layers. And this coating, we want to make sure that we get all the edges so that it's like a catch-up coating. So when I do this coating, of course, you already did a very light coating to make sure that the paint bonds, because remember we're not priming, so when you're not priming the paint to bond straight onto chrome or aluminum or whatever it is that you're painting, that's the best procedure that I have found. So at this point I'm gonna get each stacker on its own, and I'm gonna start from top to bottom because the paint also, I always been painting top to bottom because the paint goes down so that we don't have like dusty paint. I'm gonna put it parallel to the layer I'm painting for. See? Let's do the next one.